Welcome back. Today I want to talk about one more big tech interview SQL question asked by Apple and Microsoft in March 2025, kind of a very recent SQL interview question. Most popular clients for calls is the title of this question. Let's dive into the question and we can talk about the nitty-gritties and the logic to develop. Select the most popular client ID based on a count of the number of users who have at least 50% of their events from the following list. I can envision two CTEs. CTE1 is identifying the minimum criteria. CTE2 is ranking based on the activity to identify the device type which is most popular. Let's dive into the logic and we can define each step of the process in more detail. So let's define the CTE1 as active customer base, active users based on the criteria which is described here in the question. So I'm going to get two levels of information. We do need the client ID eventually. That's the expected output. So I'm going to get the client ID and also get user ID because we want the user activity to be applied in the first criteria. Count case when event type in. Basically want to identify all those events that are specified in this criteria. So video call received, video call sent, voice call received, voice call sent. So these are the criteria that are given. So okay, identify all of those criteria, just structure them better to easily understand and make sure they're applied as expected. So yep, those are all the criteria that are needed, required criteria. Then we want to count event ID, else null, and as required activity. We call that as required activity. And I'm also going to get the total activity which we might need in the future steps. All the event IDs is basically the total activity. So we have the minimum activity and the total activity defined here at two dimensions, which are client ID and user ID. So what's the table called again? Fact events. So bring that table information here, fact events, and group by 1, which is the client ID, 2, which is the user ID. So we have two dimensions and we have all the required criteria that we collected, total activity and the required activity. Now we want to create the second CTE in order to identify rank. Let's just call the second CTE as rank. In the rank here, we want to get the client ID. I'm going to say distinct client ID. Oh, no. We do want to use the dense rank here, even though there are only couple of device types here. Imagine there are more device types and the database we are trying to query on could have more device types, and universally this condition can be applied. In case more than one device type has a tiebreaker, we want to get all such device types. So I would use dense rank. We can also explain the logic to the interviewer and see if that checks off. It's good to brainstorm with the interviewer in a lot of scenarios that will actually clear out some of the confusion while defining the logic. So dense rank over order by sum of total activity. So we want to rank based on the total activity and in the descending order as rank, okay, from CTE1 group by 1. In this case, just the client ID. I don't think we need distinct here because we have a aggregation. So the reason why I have computed the sum of total activity is because in CTE1 we have client ID and user ID 2 dimensions. Now we are aggregating it to 1 dimension, which is client ID only. So that's why I had to redo the aggregation at 1 dimension, at only one level, which is the client ID level. So now simply I'm going to call out the client ID from CTE2 where rank is equal to 1. Let's try and run this. Looks like we have the most popular device type as desktop. Okay, that is solved. That is all we have for today, and let's catch up soon with more interesting big tech questions. Thank you.